this is how I add a voice recording to my daily notes. This Reddit post looks interesting. I should look at it on the weekend. Okay, so today we'll be making an Always Reddy action for quickly taking voice recordings, transcribing them, and appending them to our daily notes in our note-taking app, in this case, Obsidian. So Always Reddy actions are a very, very experimental plugin type system for Always Reddy that I've been working on recently. They're very, very likely to change and look very different in a couple months' time. But for anyone who's kind of interested in making their own, this can act as a bit of a guide. And I may well share the code after for those of you who think that this is a useful tool. I made it myself a few days ago, and I've been using it like non-stop, so may be useful. So here we've got the Always Reddy codebase. On this side, you can see there's this actions directory. Again, keep in mind that this is all likely to change, so if you make your own, it's likely that I'll make some change in how everything's configured later, and you'll need to do some work to update it to make it work with the new version. But anyway, so if you want to make your own action, we'll start by taking this example action folder. I'll just copy it and paste it, and so I've just made a duplicate of it. We'll call this tool add to, I can't type today, daily note. And we'll open it up. Now, inside any folder that's inside of the actions directory, it will be checked when Always Reddy starts, and it will run the main main.py file. So here's our example tool here. So you can see there's this setup function here. Setup will run when Always Reddy initializes, and then there's this add hotkey, add action hotkey function here. So what this does is this allows us to define a hotkey. In this example case, it's Control-Alt-T, and then we can define what we want to happen when different actions are fired to do with this hotkey. So in this case, we've got the pressed event and the held release event, and they are both tied to this one action. So you can see that we're running self.ar.toggleRecording. AR just is a reference to the parent, Always Reddy, which gives us access to all of Always Reddy's functionality. So toggle recording, the first time, well, toggle recording will start and stop recording. So the first time you run it, it will start the recording and it will return none. So recording file name will be none. But the second time it's hit, it will return a file name. So that's why you want to have this check here to see, is there a recording file name? If there is, then you fire your functionality. You can't fire this unless you have a recording to run your transcription on. I'm passing in a callback function here. So this just means that if the recording runs for too long, if it, I think the max recording time is half an hour by default. So if you start recording and forget to stop it, after that max duration is run, it will run this function again. So it just means if we forget and we record for ages, it will run this function again, which will run this piece of code here. It will stop the recording, get it, and then you can see we go self.ar transcription manager transcribe audio. So if there is a file, we pass it into the transcription system, we get the transcript, and then we copy it to the clipboard, and that's what this does. One note on the held release system here. So if a key is held for long enough, it will fire a held event, and if it's released after being held for long enough, it will fire the held release instead of just the regular release. So what this means is if we press down the hotkey and hold it, so when it's first pressed, it will run this function, it will start the recording, and then we hold it and we talk for a few seconds, for example, and if we've held it for long enough, which I think is like 0.5 seconds or something, so held for long enough that it, when we release it, it triggers the held release function, which will just run this function again, and seeing the recording's already been started, when we release it, it will return the file name and fire this functionality. So ultimately, this setup means that it can be toggled on and off. You can tap once to start recording and once again to stop recording, or you can press and hold it down to kind of push to talk. Anyway, that's enough explaining the code, so let's get into making this tool. So we'll rename this class. I'm going to name it add to daily note. I'm going to change the hotkey here to Control-Alt-F. We can remove this bit here that adds it to the clipboard because we don't want our text saved to the clipboard, but we do still want the transcript to be saved. Okay, so I've just added this append to note function here. So all it does is takes in a piece of text and a notes directory. It gets today's date and turns it into a file name because for me, my daily notes, the name of the note is today's date. It formats this string so it adds like a timestamp, then after it, so timestamp, and then it adds a new line and whatever text is passed in, followed by a break. And then down here it just checks, is there already a file with this file name in that location? If so, if there's not, then make one. If there is, then just add it to the end. Let me see. So it needs a notes directory. I don't have my notes directory here right now, so I'll just append this. This is the very messy path to my daily notes. And now I think all we need to do is we'll just check if transcript. So just sometimes if you just record a tiny snippet of audio, the transcript will be nothing. So if there is a transcript, then append it to the daily notes. So let's try running this and test it out. Testing, can you hear me? And there we go. Okay. Now, one extra touch that I want is it would be handy to be able to give it text from my clipboard. Often I want to save a link or something. So let me see. So what I'll do is I'll add on double tap, I'll run self.alwaysReddy save clipboard text. So this will just save an attribute on AlwaysReddy saying this is what text is in the clipboard. Okay, so I've just added this little bit of code here. It just checks if self.alwaysReddy.clipboard text. So if there is text that's been saved from the clipboard, then it just adds the clipboard text into a markdown code block and adds the transcript after. Then it just clears that attribute. And I'll just copy this text as an example. Back to my notes. Now double tap the hotkey. This is what AlwaysReddy prints when it starts up. There we go. It's added the text that was in my clipboard and my notes here. Yeah, so I found this to be pretty helpful. I was going through some online courses and videos and things the other day, and I was just using this for taking notes. I was like copying comments and relevant bits of code and just having them saved, but also just anytime anything popped to my head, I didn't have to change windows, I didn't have to stop work or context shift at all. I could just press a hotkey, say what was on my mind, and it was there, and it was time stamped, so I could remember what sequence things were in, and yeah, I found it very helpful. So yeah, let me know what you think. Try making your own AlwaysReddy action. I'll be improving the system a lot and smoothing it out. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed.